Breaking news, SpaceX just pulled off a test launch of its latest Starship megarocket. So here's what it sounded like when it took off from the launch pad in South Texas. This Starship is the most powerful rocket ever built. SpaceX has a lot riding on the Starship's success, with the company hoping to go public next month in what is expected to be the biggest initial public offering. So CBS News space consultant Bill Harwood joining us now. So Bill, how did everything go with tonight's launch?
Well, as you saw those pictures, it's quite spectacular watching this giant rocket take off. But they did have multiple engine failures or shutdowns that prevented things from going exactly as planned. You know, that first stage booster was supposed to flip around and fly itself back to a targeted splashdown just off the Texas Gulf Coast, but those engine failures meant that it couldn't reach its target, and so instead it hit the water well short of that target. They had a similar problem with the upper Starship stage. One of its big Raptor engines also shut down early, but in that case, the others just fired normally for longer, and it's now operating in space. In fact, it's beginning to re-enter the atmosphere, as we can see from live pictures that are coming in as we speak, and you can really see the heat beginning to build up around this thing. So I would call it a successful launch, but they've got some issues with the engines they clearly need to work on.
So what comes next for this rocket? What can we expect?
Well, for this mission, you know, the upper stage is going to splash down in the Indian Ocean. They're really testing its internal systems, its maneuverability. They launched some satellite simulators that are, you know, testing the mechanism they'll use when this rocket is operational. It'll be able to carry up to 60 Starlink internet satellites at a time, and they shoot them out the side like it's from a Pez dispenser. It's really kind of neat to watch. But they got to get it operational. They got to work the bugs out. They got to launch additional test flights, make sure they get these engines figured out before any of that's going to happen. Of course, NASA's counting on this rocket to be the lander for astronauts to land on the moon in just a couple of years. And so I think there's a lot of pressure on SpaceX, both from the commercial standpoint, they need to perfect the rocket, and of course with NASA, they really need this lander to make the Artemis moon landings happen. All of that's on the line.
All right, Bill Harwood. Bill, thank you.